think that I've been conditioned to not present my feelings until they're objectively um, objectively and logically proven. And so, I mean, I'm thinking all of the time about how I can present my ideas and my feelings in such a way that people can agree with it without any, oh, that's just because you're an F and you're emotional, or oh, you're so emotional, which is kind of the underlying fear being raised by an NT mother. The F is kind of self-explanatory, kind of goes with the N and the restlessness and always thinking, and being very future-oriented. Poor Fs, poor Fs get beaten over the head. And the interesting thing is that NFs are 3/4 female and NTs are 3/4 male. So even though I can kind of complain about people like, oh, you're so emotional, which I hate when they do that every time I try to bring up a point, whatever. NF guys have it even worse, especially if they have an E. Especially if they have an E. P, being perceptive, is beautiful because you're very flexible and people appreciate that, But I'm going to talk about open-endedness and the fact that no matter how much new information you receive, it never seems to be enough. No matter how much someone says, gives me information, or I find out information myself about something, it can never define it. I think if ENFPs ruled the world, I think that we wouldn't even have dictionaries because so many things would be so hard to define. But especially things in relationship to people, especially things as far as people are concerned, because I have huge amounts of fear about hurting people, about judging, about calling someone something before I have sufficient knowledge or evidence, and I'm constantly putting myself in that person's shoes, and I just would hate it if someone kind of quickly came into an assessment of me when there really are just so many facets to my personality and who I am as a person. I don't think as many videos as you watch of me, you'll really be able to really get to know me as a person until you know me. I think the other thing is that kind of having extroverted intuition, you seek out other people to find out about them, to reveal to them their own hidden truths, and quite frankly, the majority of mankind is absolutely terrified of emotional truth. It's pretty intimidating when you come up to someone for the first time, and I mean, ENFPs are like wizards at getting to know people relatively in a few minutes and deeply, and when you tell them a truth about themselves, it is hidden behind lots of stuff. And the other thing is, I'm not one for long introductions. I'm not one for procedure and social protocol. I'm pretty much a deep person with you from the first time that you meet me. I don't really wait to to really talk with you on a deep level, because I'm so often on a deep level, and I guess the majority of the world doesn't really want to think about deep or serious things all the time. So, not to say I think about deep or serious things all the time, but I do constantly feel perplexed and confused, and kind of I'm receiving all these emotional messages, and then I'm having to decode it for so many different types of people. For NTs, first of all, because like I said, I'm just conditioned to do that. And secondly, for SJs, because I have to tell them how it's practical, And then SPs, and I have to kind of convince them why it's important in the present tense, So, and the biggest thing, I guess the hardest thing about being an ENFP, okay, I'm almost at 10 minutes, I gotta end, is that you have to segregate your company, and that's really the hardest part, because E's with a P, with that open-ended P, and extroversion, ESFPs, ESTPs, at parties, at gatherings of people that are large and grand, they love you. I think that E's love other E's. You know, you're a party person, you're in the middle of everything. That's awesome. And I would say that that really is who I am too, kind of as what I was saying in my ENFP video. But the problem with being an E, an extrovert, and also being an NF is that you're constantly doing this in and out thing. Okay, out with other people because I need energy from them, and then back into myself because I have to be true with everything that I'm doing. Okay, and out, back again, and into myself. And in, and you know, you just like get restless between like two people, you know. And then it's hard too because you're always putting yourself in the other person's shoes, but you're always trying to be true to yourself and who you are. So it's kind of like you feel like you're living these two contradictions, and it could just make you so incredibly restless. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just having to segregate your company. And then NFs who are introverts and are kind of insecure about it, like they'll, well, how can I say, they'll kind of condescend whatever value or truth or like intellectual point that you can conjure up because of your E, because of the fact that you're enthusiastic and stuff. So I mean, it's not easy being an ENFP. It isn't. I love it. I mean, I'm not going to change who I am, but it's not always easy. It's not always easy.